wait for the... Okay, so good morning again, guys. So as we go to the last part of our topic for the semester, which is on linear programming. Okay, so yung mga previous lesson natin, medyo again, as I've mentioned, hindi siya ganun ka parehas nung gagawin natin ngayon. From the first part, we just focus on data gathering, how do we present this data, how do we describe this data. Basically, yun ang ginawa natin on the previous part. For this topic, I've looked into some literatures regarding descriptive analytics. What I got is we have also to learn how to decide, okay? So part of descriptive analytics is how we can decide on this data na paano natin siya masasabi na ito ay maganda o pangit and so on and so forth. So part of decision-making process is how to what we call it, we have to some sort of develop critical thinking. Okay, so I was thinking of a topic and then I thought of this topic kasi medyo maganda siya aside from its basic topic. Matutulungan tayo dito para mag-decide, and then by looking into the result, we can actually decide which is the best thing to use, or later on we will call it optimal solutions. Okay? Okay ba tayo dyan?
Yes po.
Okay, so linear programming. Pag tinignan natin ng title na to, ano yung alam natin? Sige nga, before we start. Biglang umalis yung isa, natakot. Anyone? Sige, anong alam natin sa linear programming? Sige, yes, Miguel. Yes, JM.
Sir, ano po? Parang ano po, it's a method po to achieve the best outcome po.
Okay, so yes, very good. So it's actually identifying the optimal solution, basically. Okay. So nung una ko siyang nakita, linear programming, so it means we will be doing programming. Hindi naman. So huwag kayong matakot. This is not, parang pag sinabi kasi ng programming, magpo-program tayo, gagawa tayo ng program on how we can... is my audio okay lang? Can you hear other noise?
Wala naman po, sir.
Ay, wala. Okay. Magaling pala tong aking fan. Kasi may nagko-construction sa labas, baka naririnig niya. Hindi naman?
Medyo, sir. Konting-konti lang, sir.
Konti-konti lang. Okay, so I just close the door. Just ask my assistant to close the door. But still, I can still hear it. Okay, how about now? Is it the same? Or better?
Medyo faint na lang po, sir.
Wow, faint. Parang wait lang. I-google ko lang yun, ha? Ano spelling ba nun? Yun ba yung pag hinihimatay ka, ganon? Tama ba? JM? Okay.
Sir?
Sige, let's continue. So pag sinabi natin linear programming, it doesn't, I can say na hindi siya directly involved on on making a program. Kasi parang nung una naisip ko linear programming, siguro magpo-program kami nito. Hindi naman pala. So we will just basically be doing, ang focus nito is on linear inequalities, okay, na tinatawag. Okay, so I'll just present this and then let's try to... Okay, so eto, gumalaw ba yung presentation ko, guys?
Yes, po.
Okay, so
Yes.
okay, so we have the following learning outcomes for our lesson for today. So first is we will identify or define linear inequalities and identify them, how they look like. Okay, and then we'll try to learn how to identify the graph, specifically the solution to linear inequalities. Okay, so dati dun sa algebra natin, if I'm not mistaken, we have linear equations, di ba? Ngayon, linear inequalities naman. Paano kapag instead of the equal sign, we will be using the inequality symbol, yung mga less than, greater than, less than equal, or greater than or equal sign symbols. Okay? And then we will try to graph them, and eventually we will try to learn how to identify the solution to this kind of inequalities, or to this kind of uh, expressions. Okay, and later on we'll try to identify also to solve the solution set, okay, to the system of linear inequalities. Okay, I think someone is joining. Let me go back first. Okay, so continuing, we will also try to identify and then define the fundamental theorem of linear programming problem. Okay, so how do we identify, and then later on to determine if it's a fundamental theorem of a linear programming problem, or LP problem, tinatawag. And then we will understand the corner principle, and then later we'll try to apply this to find optimal solutions to LP problem, or linear programming problem. Okay. So, okay pa ba tayo dyan? So, do you already have a background on what we will be doing for I think, this session, and maybe we can have an additional session next time. Okay, do you have any question with our learning outcomes, guys?
Wala pa po.
Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so let's start with defining linear inequalities. Linear inequalities is basically it's very similar to your equation. Yun nga lang, the difference is that instead of using the equal sign, we will be using the inequality symbol. So we have 4 types of linear inequalities, okay? So we have the following forms. Either we have a greater than symbol, a greater than or equal, a less than symbol, or a less than or equal symbol. So, sinawag natin siyang excuse me, linear inequalities kasi if you would notice on the left side of the inequality, we have a linear variable. Pag sinabi natin linear variable, the degree of the variables is at most 1. So, ang variable natin dito is x and y, a, b, c are all constant. Okay? So, dati meron tayong linear equation. Instead of using these symbols, we have an equal sign, di ba? Naalala pa ba yon, yung ating linear equations? Okay? Okay, so any question with this? So, ganito itsura ng linear inequality. So, basically, we define it in this manner wherein we just use the inequality symbol instead of yung ating equal sign. And then, yung x and then y, yun yung magiging variables natin, and they are all linear. In other words, maximum of degree 1. Hindi tayo pwedeng magkaroon ng exponent na more than 1. Hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng x squared, ng y squared, or any other exponent not equal to 1. Or pwede ring 0. In other words, pwedeng mangyari na, x to the 0, mawawala yung x, di ba? Kasi magiging equal sa 1 lang yan. So, pwedeng we just have an inequality in terms of 1 variable. So, at most 2 variables, wherein these variables will have at most 1 or 0, or rather will have a 1 or 0 na exponent. Okay? So, how do we graph linear inequalities? This is basically one of the focus of our lesson. So, to graph linear inequalities, we have the following process. Okay? So, if you have any question, guys, feel free to butt in. You can just, I cannot see those who are raising hands, so just call my attention. Okay? Malinaw po ba?
Yes po.
Wait lang. I think someone is joining. Okay, so how do we graph linear inequalities? So the first thing to do is, okay, so we draw the graph of the equation obtained by replacing the inequality symbol with an equal sign. So I believe you know how to graph equations or linear equations. So instead of using an inequality symbol, we just draw the line, the equation of the line. Okay, so we'll have an example of this later on. After which, we use a dash line for strict inequality. Ano yung mga strict inequality? Yun yung strictly na less than or greater than lang. Yung solid line naman for non-strict. Ibig sabihin yung may less than or equal, o kaya yung greater than or equal. So dash line for strict inequality, yung less than o kaya yung greater than lang. And then solid line naman for non-strict, yung greater than, less than, ay greater than or equal, and the less than or equal symbols. Next is we pick a test point. Okay, so usually the origin, kasi pinakamadaling i-substitute to. We just have to substitute that point or any point. Dahil pinakamadali ang origin, kasi yung origin 0, 0. So i-substitute lang natin yung 0, 0 sa x at saka y, makaka-identify na tayo if it will follow the inequality. The satisfied half plane is the graph of an inequality. So hindi tulad nung line natin, di ba line ang ginagawa natin. Dito ngayon, ang linear inequality, the graph of that is actually a half plane. Pag sinabi nating half plane, kalahating plane, wherein it is divided by the dashed or the solid line that we were able to create a while ago. Okay, madali lang. Napipicture out nyo ba yung gagawin natin?
Apo, sir.
Okay, so let's have an example. Let's have one example. Okay, so for example, let's try to sketch the graph of 2x plus 3y greater than 7. Okay, so if we remember, your first step is we try to graph the line of the equation first. So we replace the inequality symbol, yung greater than symbol, we replace it by an equal sign symbol. So we now graph this. So to graph a line, if you would remember, we just have to graph 2 points. Okay, so usually, ang pinakamadali is we graph the intercepts na tinatawag. Yung intercepts, yun yung kung saan dumadaan yung line sa ating axis. So when x is 0, notice, substitute natin, when x is 0, we solve for y here will be, 3y will be equal to 7, so y here will be 7 over 3. So ito na yung magiging ating x-intercept. Okay? Y-intercept pala, sorry. And then to find for the x-intercept, we just let y be 0 and then solve for x. X will be what? Anyone? Anyone? When y is 0, what will be x for this equation? Oh, anyone, guys?
7 over 2.
Okay, 7 over 2. So substitute lang natin yung x natin doon sa, yung y, yung 0 sa y. So magsi-0 yung 3y, 0 na to. So 2x will be equal to 7. So x here will be 7 over 2. Okay, malinaw ba to, guys?
Yes po.
Okay, so next is we now plot these 2 points. Okay, so when we plot these 2 points, ito na lang siya, di ba? So yung nasa y-axis natin, that would be when x is 0, y is 7 over 3, or that would be 2 and 1/3. And then the other one is 7 over 2 or 7 halves, or that would be 3 and a half. Okay, so that would be when y is 0. So notice, andito sa mga axis natin yung mga points na to, kaya tinawag siyang intercepts. Ito, yung nasa y-axis, ang tawag natin siya sa kanya ay y-intercept. Ito naman yung x-intercept. And to draw the line, we just have to connect these 2 points and then extend. Okay? But, take note. So, sabi doon, sa second ko natin, we draw the line kapag, in this case, greater than to, di ba? Strict inequality ito. So, we will be using a dashed line. So, we create a dashed line. Got it? So, kung kunwari, greater than equal yan, instead of a dashed line, we draw a solid line. Okay? Malinaw po ba?
Yes. Sir, bakit kailangan i-shade po yung ilalim niyan?
Aling ilalim?
Yung other half po.
What do you mean i-shade yung other half?
Kasi po nag-try po akong mag-search po ng ganyan. Naka-shaded po yung ilalim po.
Wait lang, hindi pa tayo tapos. Okay? So, nasa step number 2 pa lang tayo. Diba? Next is, we identify a test point. Sabi natin kanina, we usually use the origin. Actually, we can actually use any point na wala dun sa line natin. Ha? In this case, yung origin, wala sa line. So, basically, ito yung usual na ginagamit. Kasi unang-una, madali siyang gamitin kasi magsisiro lang yung x and y, ma-identify na natin. Notice, when x is 0 and y is 0, what happens? magiging 0 is 0. Notice 0 will be less than 7, di ba? Which is not true to our inequality. So ibig sabihin, si 0, 0 ay hindi kasama doon sa ating inequality, linear inequality. Got it? Malinaw ba 'yon? Ulitin natin. So when x is 0, y is 0, notice yung left side na 2 times 0 plus 3y plus times 0 will be 0, which is not greater than 7. Ibig sabihin, and specifically, it is less than 7. Right? Tama? Dahil less than 7, it does not satisfy our inequality. Ibig sabihin, that point will not include in the half plane of 2x plus 3y greater than 7. Dahil hindi dito yung half plane niya will be dun sa ibabaw. Is that clear, guys?
Yes po.
Okay, so yung solution set na ng ating equation or ng ating inequality, linear inequality 2x plus 3y greater than 7 would be the half plane above this line. So ito na yung any point here will satisfy this inequality here. Okay, so hindi na lang sa isang linya. Actually, this line will not satisfy this also kasi strictly greater than. Andito, ito yung equal to 7. Dahil hindi siya kasama, that's why we use a dashed line. So even the points on this line ay hindi kasama sa equation, hindi kasama sa solutions ng ating linear inequality na 2x plus 3y greater than 7. Yung mga points lang na naandito sa ibabaw ng ating dashed line. Is that clear?
Yes.
Malinaw po ba?
Yes po.
Okay, so very good. Do you have any question? How about the others? Do you have question, guys? Before we proceed with the next one.
Wala po, sir.
Hello? Wala. Ang galing ko naman. Ang bilian, naiintindihan agad. Sana all. Okay, so let's continue. So after drawing an example of the graph of a line, or rather a linear inequality, okay, let us now extend it to a system of linear inequality. Paano naman kapag system? Pag sinabi natin system of linear inequality, kanina, isa lang. Pag sa system naman siya, pwedeng dalawa or mas madami sa dalawa yung kakailangan nating hanapan ng solution set. Okay? So, kunwari, gawin nating dalawa naman. Paano naman natin kukunin yung solution set nitong dalawa? Parang dati, system of linear equation tayo nung high school tayo, di ba? In other words, may dalawang line, kukunin natin yung, kunwari, nag-intersect sila, kung mag-intersect man, yung intersection nila, yun yung magiging solution, di ba? Dito, dahil ang solution ng bawat inequality natin is a half plane, kukunin natin kung saan co-coincide naman yung mga half planes natin, and then yun yung magiging solution set ng ating system. Okay? So, dito, ang gagawin lang natin is we will try to identify the graph, and then show that using the graph, andun yung ating solution. Okay? So, what we have to do is to draw the line, the equation of, we have to draw the graph of both systems. And then we just have to superimpose them. Pag sinabi superimpose, paglalapatin lang natin, tapos kung saan yung common na half plane, yun yung magiging solution set ng ating system. Okay, so first is we try to find the intercepts of each of this graph, of each of this linear inequality. Okay, for the first equation, x plus y equal 5. So when x is 0, y is 5. And of course, when y is 0, x is 5 naman. Okay, next, for the second, so ito na yun. So ito na yung magiging intercepts ng line. Okay. Next, for the second equation, so when x is 0, y will be negative 4. And then when y is 0, x will just be equal to 2. So pag 0 ang y, so 2x will be 4. So x divide both sides by 2. So x will be 2. Okay. So superimposing it here, andito siya. Okay, yan yung mga points. Okay, can you follow?
Yes po.
Okay, malinaw ba yung iba?
Opo.
Oh, yeah.
O ano yung tanong? Huwag kayo mahiya. Kung naintindihan ng iba, hindi necessarily na pilitin yung sarili nyo na intindihin nyo rin. Kung hindi nyo naintindihan, so what, di ba? Huwag na tayo magsasana all kasi hindi maganda yun. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo naintindihan, bahala na si Batman. Parang ganon, hindi pwede. Kawawa naman si Batman. Lagi na lang siya ang bahala. Kung may tanong, huwag mahiya. Please. Char. Sige na, huwag na mahiya. Ano yung tanong?
Sir, ako may tanong lang po din.
Sige. Sino ba yung unang nagsalita?
Ikaw muna, Shelly.
Sige, go.
Yung
Go
sa
ahead.
akin lang, sir, yung sa may dots po. Di ba po sa may x-axis, hindi po, talaga po bang hindi nakasakto siya sa 5? 5 siya. Okay,
Five
sir,
yun.
okay na pala.
Okay,
Ang late
sorry.
kasi na number. Thank you po.
Pasensya na. Yung ating y-axis kasi, kwan siya. Ang tawag nito, by 1. Itong y-axis natin, by 2 naman. Okay? Sorry. Kasi malapad yung y, manipis yung x. Okay, so yung y natin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yung x natin, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Kaya ganon. Okay? May tanong pa po ba? Yes. Roma.
Sir, yun din itatanong ko. Pero ano, sir, iniisip ko, sir, kung design nyo lang ba yun, sir, para maganda tignan.
Actually, nakalimutan kong palitan yung yung kan. Dapat, sorry naman, pasensya na. Ayusin ko na lang next time. Na itong kan dapat magkakaiba lang yung scaling, okay? By 2 yung x coordinates natin, yung y's by unit or by 1. Yes, meron pang isang tanong. Sige.
Pwede po pa ulit sa equation 2?
Okay, sa equation 2. So, sa equation 2, when x is 0, substitute lang natin yung x dun ay 0 sa x. So, pag nag-0 ang x, ibig sabihin, wala kang jowa, char. Wala kang sakit ng ulo. Okay, sorry naman, pasensya na. When x is 0, 2 times 0 minus y will be equal to 4. Tama? So, 2 times 0, magsi-0 itong 2 times 0, ang matitira na lang, negative y equals 4. Right? So, solving for y, para mawala yung negative, multiply lang natin negative both sides. So, y will be equal to negative 4. Kaya tayo nakakuha ng y equals negative 4. Malinaw?
Opo, sir. Okay na po.
Okay, so when y naman ay 0, substitute natin yung 0 sa y. So, 2x natin will be equal to 4. Okay? So, to solve for x, divide lang natin ng 2. So, x will be 4 over 2. So, 4 over 2 is 2. So, kaya, when y is 0, x is 2. Okay, so ito yung point na yun. Nakikita nyo ba yung arrow ko dito sa aking presentation?
Opo.
Yes, nakikita, sir.
Nakikita yung gumagalaw na tawag nito, yung cursor.
Opo.
Ayun. So, ito na yung point na 2, 0. Okay, ito naman yung point na 0, negative 4. Okay? Now, so going back to the previous example, kapag non-strict, di ba? Dashed line. So, gagawan lang natin ng dashed line itong mga to. Okay, so we have those. Okay? So, dashed line parehas kasi non-strict. Kapag isa dyan pag isa dyan ay non-strict, okay, lahat pala strict, sorry. Strict inequality tayo, so dashed line. Pag non-strict, pag may isa dyan equal sign, gagawin lang nating solid line. Okay, and then we now proceed with the test. So nagkataon na yung origin wala sa mga line natin, so magandang gamitin yung origin ulit pang test. So for inequality 1, when x is 0 and y is 0, 0 yung x, 0 yung y, di ba? 0 plus y, is it greater than 5?
No po.
Okay, 0 plus 0 pala. Sorry. So, magiging 0 plus 0, is it greater than 5? So, 0 plus 0 is definitely 0. So, it is not greater than 5. So, if you will, ito yung inequality 1, di ba? Itong green natin. Dahil yung 0, 0 ay hindi siya greater than 5, hindi magbibigay ng greater than 5. So, ibig sabihin, itong half plane dito sa baba ng green ay hindi yung magiging half plane for the first inequality. ang magiging half plane niya ay yung nasa taas. Malinaw?
Yes po.
Okay, for the second one, when x is 0, y is 0, what happens? So 0, 2 times 0 minus 0 will definitely be greater than 4. So dahil, will be less than 4 rather. Dahil less than 4, tumama or naging, it makes, when x is 0, y is 0, it makes the inequality true. So ibig sabihin, naandito sa side na to yung half plane ng second inequality. So ang half plane na will be here. Okay? Got it? Sorry. Got it? So nasaan yung maging system natin, ay magiging solution set natin. Ang solution set natin ay kung saan naglapat. Okay? Nagtapat yung dalawang half planes natin. So ibig sabihin, itong magiging solution natin. Itong parang triangular na to. So any points in this area going there, it goes infinity or ito ni arrow naman yan. So this goes there. So lahat ng any points in here will satisfy this system. Malinaw po ba? Hello? Nandiyan po ba kayo?
Sir, pwede po paulit po nung second equation po kung bakit sa taas po yung shade po.
Second equation o yung first?
Yung second po.
Okay. Yung sa second equation, notice, kapag, di ba ang origin natin ay naandito, di ba? Ito yung 0, 0. Tama? So, when x is 0, y is 0, notice, pag sinabsit natin sa inequality natin, it satisfies the inequality. Pag sinabing satisfy, it makes the inequality true. That is, when x is 0, y is 0, 2 times 0 plus 0 will definitely be 0, which is less than 4. Di ba? Dahil less than 4 siya, kung nasaan yung point na yon, naandun din yung ating half plane. Got it? So, ibig sabihin, yung ating half plane dito sa violet dash line natin ay naandito sa left side. Okay? Or naandito sa upper part niya. Hindi tulad dito sa una, dahil ang 0, 0, if you would notice, ang 0, 0, it did not make the equation true. Bakit? Kasi when x is 0, y is 0, 0 plus 0 will not be greater than 5. So, ibig sabihin, itong point na to ay wala doon sa half plane ng inequality. Ibig sabihin, yung half plane na will be on the other side of the dashed line or the line. Dito kasi, nangyari, it makes the equation true. So, ibig sabihin, yung point na yung kasama. So, ibig sabihin, andito sa side na to, nasa kaliwang side na to, yung magiging half plane na. Okay? Malinaw po ba?
Apo, sir.
Okay. So, any more question? Question po?
Wala na po.
Okay, wala na. So, let us now proceed with the next one. Okay, so we will now proceed with the fundamental theorem of linear programming problem. Okay? Unless you still want to have an example on the inequalities natin before we
Sige po,
proceed.
sir.
Anong sige?
Another example po.
Another example. Ano ba yun? Nahuli tuloy ako. Wala na akong, etchos ko lang yun kasi wala na akong example. Anyway, we can create one. Wait lang, guys. Let us create one. Hindi ako prepared. Sorry naman. Okay. Anyway, para maging interactive yung ating lesson. Okay, so okay, let's have another example. Okay? At least nakikita nyo paano gumawa ng Palitan natin, gawin natin. Anong gusto niya? Sige. Lagyan natin ng minus sign dito. Lagyan natin ng 3. Tapos gawin natin itong 15 kunwari. Okay, gawin natin itong non-strict naman. Okay. Nangyari. Nangyari. Okay. Okay, so gawin nating solid line naman. So, kunwari, greater than naman siya. Okay. And then, ito, gawin natin siya. Anong gusto niya? Gawin natin itong less than naman. Okay? Less than pa rin naman siya. Okay, so, narin natin gawin 3x.
Sir, sobrang hina po ng boses niyo.
Wait lang. Nag-iisip pa ako. Okay, so let's have 3x minus 2y. Nakikita niyo yung ginagawa ko, guys?
Nakikita, sir.
Yes po.
Okay, so gawin natin itong 12. Ayan. Ayan. So, ready na tayo. Nakikita niyo? Okay, so the first thing we have to do, sabi nung ating anong last time na ginawa natin, is we try to make or gawin natin yung equation. Okay, so let's copy this. Okay, and then para hindi ako magsulat. So for equation 1, ito gagawin natin siyang equation, di ba? So, gawin natin siyang equation. Yan. Okay, so we just find the values of x and y. Okay? Or in other words, we just have to find the intercept. Palitan natin to. Nagaling ko muna to ha. Ito lang naman ang magbabago dyan. Okay. So when x is 0, what happens? So when x is 0, this will be 0, right? So negative 3y will be equal to 15. So y will be what? Y will be anyone?
Negative 5 po.
Okay, very good. Negative 5. Next, when y is 0 naman, what will be x? When y is 0, 0 ito, 0 ito. So x here will be what?
15 po.
Okay. Si Roman na lang lagi nagsasalita. Yung iba, nagigets bakit naging 15 yung x?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. Okay. Gawin natin naman para sa equation 2 naman. For equation 2, okay, so ito naman, 3x. Okay, so papalitan ko lang ito. Diba ang tamad mag-type ng teacher niya? So, gawin natin siyang equal sign. Palitan ulit natin ito. Okay. Same thing with this. So, next. When x is 0, x is 0, 0 naman ito. So, what will be y?
Negative
Negative
2.
6 po.
Negative 6. Ayun.
Ay, 6 pala, sir.
6. Okay, next. When x is 0, ay, sorry. Tama. When y is 0 naman tayo sa pangalawa, when y is 0, x here will be
4 po.
okay, 4. And i-plot muna natin yung points. Okay, insert. Wait lang. Insert tayo ng graph. Ba't wala yung aking graph? Nawala na siya. Inibayan. Sorry naman. Wait lang. Wait lang. Wala yung aking pang-graph. I'll just have to download it first, guys. Sorry. Okay, wait lang. I'll download my graph. Yung aking grapher. Bago na pala itong aking fan. Nasaan na kaya yan? Hindi. Okay, wait lang guys. Nag-download lang ako na lang. Hindi lang. Yeah, sorry naman. Nagpalit pala ako ng PC. Wala dito yung aking graph. Para magandali tayo makapag-graph. Okay. Next lang naman to eh. Okay, so it's already installing. Okay, tapos na. Okay, let me see kung andito na yung aking okay. Ayun. Ano siya? Okay, so okay na. Okay, sorry for that one. Let me now present this. Okay. Yan. Ito na yung aking pang-graph. Can you see this, guys?
Apo.
Yan. So, ayusin natin yung axis. Makapagalitan nyo na naman ako. Hindi nyo naman na maintindihan kung meron pala tayong hanggang ano ba ito? 15. Hindi natin itong by 3. Okay. 15, negative 6. Kasi mo natin axis okay, so yan na. Nakikita pa ba? Okay, so we now plot. Okay. So when we plot, plot natin yung point when x is 0, tapos y is negative 5. Okay. And then when y is 0 or when x is 15, y is 0. Okay. Okay. Yan na siya. Ito yung unang point. Nakikita pa ba guys? Ay,
Opo.
inang 2 points. Okay. And then, yung isa naman, palitan natin ito ng ano yung points natin. Hindi ko makita. When x is 0, y is negative 6. And then when x is 4, y is 0. Okay? Ito siya. Yun. Okay. Balikan natin yung kulay para ma-identify natin yung isa. Dilaw. Okay. So, na-identify nyo na guys kung alin ang para sa isa. Lakihan natin. Okay. Sorry naman. Delete ko na nga lang. Nilagay natin yung isa. Sorry guys 0, negative 6, 6, and then 4, 0. Okay, so ayan. Kita na guys. Lampas na. Nilakihan ko ng konti para makikita natin. Okay, so yung yellow for the second inequality, and then the red one is for the first equation. Okay? So ang mangyayari, yung first equation is a non-strict inequality. So ang mangyayari, i-graph natin yung line for which yung ating line will be a solid line. So ang line style natin will be solid. Okay, lakayan natin. Okay? At ang magiging equation natin is y equals that will be 15 minus x divided by negative. Okay. Put an arrow sign. Okay, so ayan yung magiging line natin. Kita nyo guys?
Opo.
Gawan pa natin ng parang para gumanda-ganda yung ating x natin. Minimum natin ay pwede na siguro x natin ay kita ba? Ano ilalagay? Okay, so nakikita guys? Mas lumaki. Okay naman. And then the other one, yung line natin na isa, will be what? It will now be a dashed line, right? Kasi it is a non-strict. And then we just connect. Parang ito, sa papel nyo, just have to connect this ha. Pinapakita ko lang kung paano i-graph siya in this application. So y here will be negative, 12 minus 3x and divided by negative. Gawin natin itong yellow. Okay. Sorry, I forgot to place the arrow. Okay, so ito na siya. Okay. Malinaw ba guys? Nakuha?
Opo.
Yes po.
Okay, so next is we now do a test point. Dun sa una, ang nangyari dito, dun sa una, ito dito sa sa unang equation natin, nangyari, when x is 0, what happens? And y is 0. So 0, nangyari 0 minus 0. Wait lang. Okay. 0 minus 3 times 0, right? Of course, what will be the result? This will be 0, right? Tama ba?
Opo.
Ang tanong, if you will look at the inequality, is it greater than or equal to 15? That is definitely less than 15, right? Tama?
Yes po.
So yung point dito, sorry, yung point dito ay hindi kasama doon sa half plane ng pula. Tama? So asan yung magiging half plane ng pula? Is it dito kasama yung point na 0, 0 o yung sa baba? Saan?
Sa baba po.
Okay, sa baba. So, ang magiging half plane niya, yung sa pula natin, yung half plane nito will be below. Okay? So, below function. Okay, so, yes. Got it? Malinaw ba?
Yes po.
Okay. Dun sa pangalawa naman, yan ulit. 3 times 0, okay, minus 2 times 0 will be what? Of course, again, it should be 0. And in this case, this is less than 12, right? Which makes the equation true. Or sorry, the inequality true. So, ibig sabihin, yung point dito ay kasama dun sa half plane nitong dilaw. Right? So, ang magiging half plane nito will be what? Will be what? Kung titingnan natin to, dun sa yellow, dahil ang 0, 0 kasama, it will have a half plane above that dashed line, right? Malinaw?
Yes po.
So, above the dashed line. So, ito siya. Right? Lang gawin natin shading. Ito rin na. Okay? So, yun. So, nasaan yung magiging common ko nila? Common shading.
Yung maliit na part po.
Okay, itong maliit na part. So, this goes to the, parang yung pag ganon. Okay? So, any point here will satisfy both inequality. Question? Okay na ba?
Opo, sir.
Okay, meron pa naman tayong a few minutes. Okay pa ba kayo dyan or gusto nyo bang mag-break muna tayo? Ano tayo mag-break? Di nga naging tayo. Okay pa ba? Or we can actually continue with this next meeting naman kung hindi na kaya. Pero kung kaya pa, we can still continue. Ano? Okay pa ba?
Opo.
Okay. How about the others?
Okay pa po.
Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so let us now, unless you have any more question with identifying or making a graph of the systems of, kasi importante to guys ha, pag hindi nyo nalaman kung paano i-graph yung system of linear inequalities natin, hindi tayo pwede mag-proceed sa next topic natin. Okay, so malinaw na ba to?
Malinaw na po.
Okay, so thank you. So let's continue. Okay, so let me continue. Iset natin ng okay, so can you see this? Fundamental theorem of linear programming problem. Ito na tayo. Question guys. Ay nakikita ba tong presentation ko?
Nakikita, sir.
Okay, so what is the fundamental theorem of linear programming problem? Bakit siya tinawag na ganito? Okay, so sabi dito, if LP problem or a linear programming problem has optimal solution, either the maximum or the minimum, there's always at least one extreme point, or we call it a corner point, which is the solution, extreme point solution of the feasible region. In other words, yung kanina, di ba, nakakuha lang tayo ng ang tawag nito, solution to linear inequality. Yung parang isang area, di ba? Among those area, hahanapin natin yung tinatawag na optimal solution. Pag sinabi natin optimal solution, either it will give you the biggest or the smallest possible value of the function. Okay? And sabi dito sa statement na to, kapag meron daw optimal solution, merong isa, there is always at least one extreme point. Ibig sabihin, merong isa na extreme point, ang tinatawag na corner point solution of the feasible region. Among those points, yung corner points, kaya nga later on hanapin natin yung mga corner point, is actually the optimal solution. Okay? Malinaw ba yun?
Opo.
Okay? Pag sinabi kasi natin corner point, discuss natin, meron din palang separate discussion on that. So sabi dito, LP problem with bounded non-empty feasible regions always contain optimal solutions. So sabi dito, LP problem with bounded non-empty feasible regions always contain optimal solution. So kapag yung linear programming problem dan natin na may ang feasible region niya is non-empty, okay? Pag sinabi non-empty, ibig sabihin may laman, okay? Laging merong optimal solution yun. So kapag nakakuha tayo ng bounded region, okay, na feasible region siya nung ating LP problem, yung masasabi natin later on, yung mga kapag ang corner point na to ay kasama, okay, actually it will always be, the corner point will actually be the optimal solution. Or at least one corner point will be an optimal solution. Ibig sabihin, merong isa lagi na optimal solution doon. And it will be on the corners of the feasible bounded region. Okay? Feasible non-empty. Let's make it non-empty kasi siguro para laging may laman yung ating region. So, sa corner principle, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na the corners will be the optimal solution. Okay, so kunwari, we have a function. Ito yung objective function wherein the constraints on x and y are subject to the constraints on x and y. If the constraints form a system of linear inequalities, which what we had a while ago, the maximum and the minimum values of the function, if there are any, can be found by, first is, what we did, we graph the inequalities, we locate the vertices, okay, or the points of intersection, and we find the value of the objective function f at each vertex. Okay? So, kanina, notice yung mga example natin ng linear inequality, unbounded siya, unluckily. Bakit unbounded or not bounded? Kasi yung, if you would notice, yung feasible region natin, dun sa isang side, wala na siyang boundary, kaya tinatawag siyang unbounded or not bounded. Later on, maghahanap tayo dito na bounded na yung feasible region natin. Okay? Ibig sabihin, para maging bounded dyan, kailangan natin ng at least, kung dahil linear tayo, we have to have at least 3 inequalities or 3 lines para makaproduce ka ng bounded na region. Okay? Dahil puro tayo linear, hindi naman pwedeng lumiko yun. So, dapat straight, parang straight line lahat. So, minimum of 3 lines para makaproduce tayo ng region na bounded by this linear equations. In this case, linear inequalities para makuha natin yung feasible region na tinatawag, which is bounded and of course, non-empty. Nakuha ba yun, guys?
Opo.
Okay, so the maximum and the minimum values of f are the largest or the smallest obtained in step 2. So, pagkakuha kasi natin ng bounded region na yon, yung mga corners, kung nasaan yung mga corners, andun yung magiging pinakamalaki o pinakamaliit nating value nung function na makukuha natin kapag sinubstitute natin yung values ng corner points natin dun sa ating objective function. Okay? So, excited na ba kayo? No?
No po, sir.
Okay, so let's have an example para mas maintindihan natin to. So basically, ang ginawa ng LP problem, fundamental theorem ng LP problem at corner principle, sabi nyo sa fundamental theorem ng LP problem is that merong yung optimal solution ay naandoon sa kapag meron kang non-bounded region, okay, bounded non-empty feasible region, okay, naandun yung ating optimal solution sa mga may optimal solution doon. Itong corner principle naman sinasabi, yung mga corners, okay, nung sinabi doon sa fundamental theorem of LP problem or LP, ibig sabihin, andun yung optimal solution, and then to identify that, substitute lang natin sa objective function. Yung mga corners na to. And then the biggest will give you the maximum value and the smallest will give you the minimum value of the objective function. Okay? So let's have an example. Okay, so this is a very classical example. I've been using this for quite some time already. So a local shoe manufacturer produced 2 designs of safety shoes. Okay, let's call it shoe A and B. And has the following materials available. Okay, so there are only 18 square feet of leather, 20 square feet of rubber, 5 square feet of cotton. And then design A, yung shoe A, requires, kailangan niya ng 3 square feet of leather, 2 square feet of rubber, and 1 square feet of cotton for it to be produced. Si design B naman, it requires 2 square feet of leather and then 4 square feet of rubber only. Hindi niya kailangan ng cotton. Okay, so ito yung mga restrictions na tinatawag. Same thing with this. So, ito na yung magiging restrictions. Ito yung tinatawag nating constraints na tinatawag dun sa corner principle natin. Okay? If each pair of design A can be sold for 1,200 and B for 1,600, how many of each shoe should the manufacturer produce to obtain the maximum amount of sales? Okay? So, ito na yung objective function natin. The objective function is to identify the sales. So, yung function natin will be in terms of the amount of sales. Okay? So, to answer this, first is we identify the objective function. Pag na-identify yung objective function, hanapin naman natin yung mga constraints. Okay? So, napakaraming constraints. So, the more constraint it is, ibig sabihin, the more linear inequalities ang kailangan natin i-consider. Yun lang ang masama doon. Pero this will be fun. Okay, step 1. So, step 1 is, we represent the noun, of course. So, we let X be the number of shoes or made for design A, and then Y for design B. And then we define S to be the total sales, or our objective function S. Okay? So, in this case, we now identify the objective function. Ay, sorry pala, sabi sa aking kwan ay tabulate the data muna. Excited ako sa kwan. So, ito yung para maka-identify tayo ng magandang equation later on. So, for the first column, andun yung materials, and then the sales. And then for X, andun kung ilan yung kailangang material, and then kung magkano si X, and then magkano si Y naman sa third column. And then the available values. Okay? Notice, blanco sa sales kasi depende yan kung ilan ang sales natin. Okay, step 3, we now ito na si objective function. So from the table last time, a while ago, so to find the objective function, okay, so notice we have to maximize the sales kasi the sales will just be the sum of the sales in shoe A and shoe B. So you just have to multiply the price for shoe A times the number of shoes it was sold, and then 16,000, which is for the price of shoe B, times the number of shoe B that was sold, which is Y. Okay, malinaw? Okay pa ba kayo dyan? Hello? Woohoo!
Okay naman po, sir.
Okay.
Sir, buhay pa po.
Buhay pa, okay. Mabuti naman. Okay, so after, ito na yung objective function natin. So ito yung kailangan nating i-maximize. So how do we maximize? Pwede ba tayo plug in values na lang dito? Can we make X to become very big? Can Y very big? So to maximize is siyempre, the more X and the more Y, siyempre, yun na yung pinaka pwede nating maging maximum. Pero dahil meron tayong constraints na tinatawag, may restriction tayo, hindi tayo pwedeng makaproduce ng napakaraming X, di ba? O napakaraming A. Kasi restricted yung parang tawag nito, yung supply natin ng mga gamit para ma-produce si A. Same thing with B. Kailangan ba nating mag-produce ng madaming B? Kasi mas mahal si B. So baka pag mas madaming ginawa natin si B, tawag nito, lalaki na yung sales. Pwede ba yon? I-zero natin si X, i-maximize natin si Y. Pwede yon. Or vice versa. Baka mas madaming ma-produce and so on and so forth. And to do that, para hindi natin isipin yon, we just have to perform this. So next is we identify the constraints. So constraints naman, ano yung mga constraints natin sinasabi? So using this, okay, ma-identify natin yung constraints. Ibig sabihin, yung letter natin dapat maximum of 18. So ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng lumampas sa 18 yung letter na gamit. Kunwari, dahil si shoe A, 3 parts ni leather ang kailangan, pwede ka bang gumawa na X, can X be say 10? Sige nga guys. Pwede ka bang makapag-produce ng 10 shoe A?
No, sir.
Hindi po.
Hindi. Kasi 18 lang si leather. So ang pinakamalaki actually na X mo pwedeng gamitin ay ilan sa palagay mo?
6.
6 lang. So hanggang 6 lang ang pwedeng X. Yung Y natin, pwede bang 10 din? Pwede bang 10?
No, sir.
Hindi. Kasi maximum naman niya in this case ay
9.
9. Ang tanong, pwede ka bang ang x mo mag-negative 1?
Kung hindi magpo-produce, sir.
Pag hindi magpuproduce, negative 1 ang x. Posible ba yon?
Ay, joke lang pala, sir. Hindi pala.
Oh, hindi. So, ibig sabihin, ang x natin hindi pwedeng mag-negative kasi number of shoes yun. Hindi naman tayo si Dr. Strange na pwedeng bumalik sa di ba? So, si x natin ay, ang pinakamaliit niya must be 1. Hello? Ano yung pinakamalit na value ng x in this case?
1 po.
1?
0.
Oh, 0. Pwedeng, ibig sabihin, pwedeng wala kang gawing shoe A. That's possible, di ba? I-maximize mo lang si Y. Di ba? Wala kang X. Ang saya mo nun pag wala kang X. Di ba? Kasi ibig sabihin, hindi ka nasaktan. Okay? Okay, so these are the restrictions then. So first is, notice, si 3x plus 2y natin should be strictly less than 18, right? In other words, kapag gumawa tayo ni A at saka ni B, strictly dapat less than sa 18 kasi 18 lang yung maximum letter. So sa rubber naman, ito lang na naman. So less than 20, yung mapuproduce natin ay magagamit natin na cotton. And finally, sa rubber. For the cotton, x must be strictly less than or equal to 5. Okay? Got it? So ito yung mga restriction natin na dapat masunod. Otherwise, kapag hindi nasunod, either kukulangin ng isang piraso ng materials natin. Okay? And of course, aside from that, non-negativity constraints, ito na sabi na rin natin kanina, na yung x natin hindi pwedeng mag-negative. Otherwise, imposibleng magkaroon ka ng utang na design A or design B. So dapat laging either at least 0. So, pwedeng wala kang ginawang A or pwede kang walang ginawang B. Okay? So, malinaw to guys?
Opo, sir.
Okay. So, ito na yung magiging inequalities natin. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inequalities na kailangan nating i-graph so that we can identify a non-empty bounded feasible region. Okay? So anyway, madadali lang naman yung dalawa kasi yung tatlo kasi puro automatic na yan, x greater than 0. So and then we just have to use the y-axis and the x-axis for non-negativity constraints. Ibig sabihin lang nito, yung x natin sa y should be non-negative. Ibig sabihin we just have to use the first quadrant. Okay? So let's do that. So step 4, we now plot the constraints. So plot the constraints. So for this one, and then the So for the first one, ito, when x is 0, first inequality, when x is 0, y here will be 9, right? And then when y is 0 here, x here will be 6. So ito yun. Ito na yung dalawang points. Malinaw ba guys?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, so second constraint naman, when x is 0, y is 5. And then when y is 0 dito, x here will be 10. So ito naman, excited ako. Okay, ito yun siya, di ba? Tama? So ito na yung, notice, solid line ang ginamit niya ulit kasi sa non-strict inequality tayo. Ito naman, kapag kinonect natin siya, ito siya. Solid pa rin kasi non-strict ulit. O bakit nga pala non-strict ang ginamit natin dito? Kasi pwedeng maging equal sa 18, pwedeng maging equal sa 20. Ganon din dito, pwedeng maging equal sa 5. Okay? And then we also have, notice, aside from these two, meron pa tayong dito x less than 5. So madali lang yan. So ang x equal to 5 kasi is just a vertical line. Okay? So x equals 5. So ito lang yun, di ba? Dahil less than 5, so we just have to get the one which is less than 5 to the left of that. So, and the non-negativity constraints, ibig sabihin nyo nasa first quadrants lang. So, the y-axis and the x-axis will also be part of your boundaries. Okay, so nakikita nyo na ba kung nasaan yung magiging tawag nito? Yung ating non-empty bounded feasible region. Can you now see? Can you picture out where?
Ay,
Wow, sana all may katawagan.
may tatanong po. Bakit po nasa gitna na po yung kulay pink po?
Nasa gitna yung kulay pink. What do you mean nasa gitna?
Hindi na po siya nasa ano po mga lines po.
Hindi na kinuha yung intercepts. Okay, good question. Kasi, notice, kinuha ko na kasi nag-intersect sila dyan, di ba? So, kinuha ko yung point na to. Okay, kinuha ko yung intersection nila. Got it? So, to get this intersection, guys, all you have to do is to solve the system of linear inequality. Okay? Which I will show you. Okay? So, corner points. Ito na yung magiging, I'll just consider, hanapin ko kasi itong corner point na to later on. Saka ito. Okay, yung mga points na yan. Nakuha kung saan galing tong feasible region natin na to. O, balikan natin dun sa ating previous slide. Okay. Nakikita nyo to, ito? O, yan yung magiging feasible region natin. Kasi yun lang kung saan. Notice, less than 18, ito yun, sa baba nito, less than, and then less than, let's say, nasa kanan, and then above, so ito yung magiging feasible region natin, which is just this area. Nakuha?
Apo.
How about the others?
Yes po.
Okay, now. So, kailangan nating malocate yung mga points na yan. So, in other words, we have to identify the intersection of these two lines in this case. We call this point A. Si point B naman, intersection niya nitong blue line and the pink line. And then si C naman, itong blue line and then the light blue line. Si D naman ito, and then your E. Actually, E is very easy. That's just the origin, right? Same thing with this. Madali kasi ma-identify na agad natin na this is just your y-intercept of this line. Ito naman magiging x equals 5 agad. And then y is 0. So, ang kailangan na lang nating hanapin is actually B. C, madali na rin kasi alam natin ang x dito ay 5. So, isa-substitute na lang natin dun sa line na to, mahanap na natin yung y value niya. Okay? So, point A, again, is the y-intercept of this. So, y-intercept, so that will just be when when x is 0. So, when x is 0, y here will be 5. So, point A will have coordinates 0, 5. Kuha?
Opo.
Apo.
Okay. Point B naman is the intersection of these two lines. So, medyo kailangan nating solve ito. So, we have to solve for this inequality. Okay. Ayun, meron ng sagot. Pero to solve for this inequality, can I just leave this to you as an exercise, guys? Find out how did we get this point. Okay lang? Para...
Sige po, sir. Ito po yung B po yun, sir, na.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yung
B.
tinanong ko po kanina. Sige po.
Yes. So to find the point of intersection, you just have to solve this system of equation. Ganun lang naman. Okay, naalala niyo ba yung elimination and substitution method? Kung meron kayong ganun sa algebra niyo.
Hindi na po, sir.
Hindi na. Tandaan niyo na yan. Or later natin i-discuss. Kasi mag-alas 11 na. Magalitan ako. Lampas-lampas na tayo sa oras. Okay. And then point C, point C, madali na lang din si point C kasi when x is 0, when x is 5, substitute mo lang dun sa second equation natin, first equation pala, makukuha mo na din yung y value niyan. Okay, so when x is 5, okay, dun pala dito, sa una. So when x is 5, so 3 times 5, that would be 15, lipat natin, so 18 minus 15, so that would be 3, so y here will be 3 over 2. So x is 5, y will be 3 halves for C. Okay. Ito na pala. Akala ko wala. Kasama pala sa presentation ko yun, Ben. Can I just skip this, guys, and then you just have to find out later? Okay lang? Or ituloy na natin, nandito na rin pala.
Tuloy na lang po, sir.
Tuloy na lang, mga tamad. Okay, so ang gagamitin natin dito is, ano ginamit ko nga ba dito? Okay, elimination method, okay? So to eliminate variables, kailangan nating maging magkapares yung coefficient niya. So notice yung first equation natin at saka second equation. Ang gagawin natin dito is we will eliminate y. Okay? So para ma-eliminate yung y, paparehasin natin to. So ilan ang i-multiply natin sa 2 para maging 4? We multiply this by 2. So kaya minultiply both sides of the equation by 2. Ito na siya. And then para ma-eliminate, gawin natin, ini-minus natin ito dun sa first equation. Okay? So, mangyari, 2 times 3x, so that would be 6x minus 2x, magiging 6x minus 2x, so magiging 4x, right? Ito, mawawala na kasi 4y minus 4y will be 0. And sa right side, 2 times 18 will be 36 minus 20, so that would be 16. So, magkakaroon tayo dito ng 4x equals 16, so x here will be 4. Got it?
Sir, ma-minus po ba talaga lagi yun, sir?
Oo, kasi kapag hindi mo siya minus, hindi mo ma-eliminate yung y. Okay? Kasi pares plus. So, para ma-eliminate yan, we subtract. Okay? E pag inad mo yan, edi 4y plus 4y, magiging 8y. So, hindi mawawala yung y. Okay?
Apo.
So, when x is 4, ito, substitute na lang natin to any of the equation. When x is 4, dito natin substitute sa pangalawa. So, 2 times 4 plus 4y will be this. So, 8 ito, di ba? So, 20 minus 8. So, this becomes 12. So, y here will be 3. So, that's why we have the point 43 as the as point B. Okay? Okay po ba, guys?
Apo.
Okay, kaya tayo dun sa first previous slide, ang point B is 43. Okay, next. So, point C is just this point. Nakuha na natin kanina. And then, point D will have these points and point E. So, ang magiging next step natin is to substitute these corners to the excuse me, to the objective function. Kasi yung mga corner points na to, ito na yung magiging possible magbibigay ng optimal solution natin. Okay, so sinubstitute ko na isa-isa. Okay. So, ang pinakamalaki na nagbigay ng sa objective function natin is yung B. Will give you 9,600. Actually, you can eliminate point C already. Bakit? Kasi point C, yung yung design B ay 3 halves. Hindi naman tayo pwede mag-produce ng isa't kalahating sapatos, di ba? So, technically, ligwak na to sa banga yung point C for reality purposes. Okay. So, the possible or the best option is we produce 4 design A's and then 3 design B's so that we can have an optimum, in this case, a maximum sales, which is 9,600 pesos. Okay? Question?
Wala na po.
Okay. Okay, for your assignment, you can
Hello? Diyan pa kayo.
Oo,
Wala.
te.
Sir, nakamute po ata kayo, sir.
Ay, oo nga pala. Sorry naman. Ayun, pasensya. Nandaldal pala ako ng daldal. Wala na pala akong kausap. Okay, ba't na wala na yung iba?
Kala po tapos na.
Okay, so that ends our presentation, guys. So, ang mangyayari, pasensya na, disconnect ako. Can you just show your faces, guys, for a few seconds? And we can have a picture taking. Ayun na naman yung background ni JM. Nakita ko na naman. Yan talaga yung corner ng no? Mo na siya, no? Tawag din. Diyan ka talaga nag-online class lagi, JM. Okay. Guys, paki-on ng saglit ng camera. Laika, Maris, Maricar, Danica, Mary Joy, Katrina. Paki-on saglit ng camera. Mary Rose. Ano ba yan? Ang daming nawala, ah. Ang bilis naman nilang bumitaw. Saglit lang ako nawala, binitawan na ako agad. Parang kanina nasa 20 plus na kayo, ah.
Ang fresh naman ni JM.
Siyempre.
Pang malakasan yung background niya, sir.
Laging ganyan yan eh. Ano ka ba? Ngayon naman lang ba nakita yun? Ngayon ka lang pumasok, no?
Gawa-gawa ng Illuminati yan, sir.
Illuminati agad. Pwedeng yayamanin lang, ganun. Okay na, wala nang... Hoy, Maris! Maricar! Buhay pa ba kayo dyan? Mary Rose!
Buhay pa po.
On sa gitna ng camera nyo. Yan. Mary Rose! Mary Joy! Bilis, malulubat na daw ako. Ayaw niyong magsibukas. Yan. O konti na nga lang kayo, ayaw niyo pong magbukas. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Say cheese.
Sir, bali walang activity, sir.
Hindi na ba na-post yung assignment?
Nasakto, sir. Bigla ka po nawala.
Ay, siguro sinabotahin niyo ako. Anyway, I'll just post it in the Google Classroom. Doon na lang natin makita yung assignment. Okay? Assignment lang naman yun. Bahala kayo kung gusto niyo gawin o hindi. Pero syempre, i-scorean ko yun. So, wala kayong choice kundi gawin. Char. Okay. So, ipopost ko na lang ulit ito sa YouTube. Sana ma-record to. Na-disconnect ako kanina. Hindi ko alam kung saan mapupunta yung recording. Kung saan man mapunta yung recording, paki-ko na lang ako, ha. Paki-send na lang sa akin yung recording. Ganun sa Google Meet, pag na-disconnect yung host, ata na pupunta sa kung saan yung recording. Okay, or anyway, mas maganda siguro mag-leave na lang kayo ng para ako yung huling mag-leave, mapunta sa akin yung recording. Sige na, bye. Ingat kayo, magugas ng kamay lagi.
Bye, sir!
Sige, ingat
Bye,
kayo.
sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you po.
Sige, bye. Oh, pwede na kayong umalis. Danica, Israel, and then Mary Rose. Huy. Pwede na kayong umalis. Sige na, huwag na kayong maya. Danica and Mary Rose, you can leave. Wala. Mary Rose. Nako. Hoy. Mary Rose. Okay, di pala yun.